Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and the time we have left in 2024 is quickly dwindling away. We have just days before the very end of the year, and I thought that it would be a very appropriate time to talk about what I would like to see for HeroQuest in 2025. Now, the last time I made a video like this, it ended up being an hour long because I had so many things out there, so many things to build a list with, so many wants, so many desires, and this last year and a half, Avalon Hill have really answered a ton of those. So this year, I'm going to pare back my expectations. I'm going to take all of the developments over the last year into consideration. I'm going to be thankful for what I have, and I'm going to be even more greedy.
All I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share.
This is Wizards of Morcar, the classic edition. This is not a new release. It's not a re-release. It's not even actually the real box. It's an authentic looking reproduction of a box. But I have it in hand to remind myself exactly what kind of experience this represented, what this was for HeroQuest, at least in the UK and in the EU. We had 16 finely detailed Citadel miniatures featuring 4 new evil sorcerer figures, 12 men-at-arms, and 24 weapons. 1 quest book containing new rules and 5 new quests. That's right, the smallest of all of the quest packs. For reasons unbeknownst to mortal man, the Wizards of Morcar only had 5 quests. 1 die-cut sheet including 1 magic reference chart, 3 magical barrier pieces, stone, fire, and ice, 1 earthquake tile, 1 lightning bolt tile, 1 cloak of darkness tile, 4 fireburst tokens, 6 blocked square markers, 4 breached wall tiles, and 24 evil sorcerer spell cards. They are separated amongst the 4 evil wizards in this pack, namely the orc shaman, the high mage, the necromancer, and the storm mage. Each one of them had 6 abilities, 6 unique abilities. 9 new wizard and elf spell cards. That's 3 new spell groups with 3 abilities in each one. 23 men-at-arms cards and 8 new treasure cards. I think I speak on behalf of everybody when I say, please, 2025, allow Avalon Hill the means and the power to develop and release the Wizards of Morcar as a brand new expansion, re-released, reimagined for the 2021 HeroQuest. I've gone on record before criticizing certain quest packs and the update choices that were made behind the scenes, and I would very, very much like to see the Wizards of Morcar re-release unchanged as much as possible, at least in any sort of subtractive way. See, I've never really cared if they wanted to add more content on. As long as they didn't mess with the source material too much, I was perfectly fine with whatever changes they felt needed to be made. This is because I am planted firmly in the camp that the imperfections of HeroQuest have given it the life that allowed it to endure all of these decades. Yes, that's because of the community, that's because of diehard fans, but those fans, I truly believe, were diehard because of all of the gaps they were able to close, all of the holes in the game system they were able to fill with their own imaginations, creating truly customizable, homebrewable moments as they were playing the game. That, to me, is what keeps the game going on. Now, that said, this is a different time, and accessibility is a necessary monster to wrangle and successfully win with rather than against. A lot of people have come forward across various social media platforms asking about help with the Frozen Horror and speaking out against its difficulty, but I'm willing to bet that those people weren't put off by the Frozen Horror. They were seeking ways around it actively by engaging with the community. And that's not something that really would have happened if the Frozen Horror didn't have such a high difficulty, a seemingly high barrier to entry. I also know several people who, while they did find the Frozen Horror to be a challenge, didn't give up and were able to complete the campaign just utilizing the hireable mercenaries feature of the campaign itself. A lot of folks have said that they would like the Dark Company to be merged with the Wizards of Morcar, and I don't think that that's a bad idea. I do think that if there is any shot that Avalon Hill can survive past the Wizards of Morcar re-release, if that is what we get next, and all signs do seem to point to that being the next one, that we should give them the faith to come up with an interpretation of the Dark Company that can survive also on its own, perhaps in an entirely new quest pack, or, and this will probably never happen, an advanced quest version of Hero Quest. And I'm not talking about Advanced Hero Quest, I'm talking about Hero Quest Advanced Quest, which is totally different. I'm not going to broken record explain that again. A lot of people would like to see all of the things that were already released be released for this new version. I think it's that collectors, I just had a ladybug land on my hair. They are so bad this year. I look up, there's 2 of them on my ceiling, but I came in here earlier and I cleared out like 10 of them. There's dead ones on my desk, on my floor, on my game table, stuck to my curtain. Anyway, this is all kind of a segue to get to thing number 2 on my list of desirables. But just to close out the Wizards of Morcar, I understand if they feel that they would need to rename it. If they do, great, Wizards of Zargon is fine. If they don't, Wizards of Morcar could be very, very interesting. And there just was one spot in an interview where Chris Nadeau went on record saying, you know, who is Zargon? Who is Mentor? I can't wait to drop that bomb on you. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit, but that was an important quote. That was something that is hinting at what was brewing in the minds of the developers. And this was at Gen Con, not this past year, not this year, I mean, but last year. So perhaps who Zargon really is and what Avalon Hill's vision is for this contemporary version of Hero Quest, this interpretation, will all come to fruition here soon. At least I hope that the opportunity is given for them to continue on whatever path they set for themselves as long as 18 months ago. If you've followed events at all, you do know that there were significant layoffs at Avalon Hill as part of an effort by Hasbro to cut just across the board. And a lot of the more crowd-friendly, personable people, not all of them, but a lot of the ones that we recognized were let go from Avalon Hill at December of last year. Like the worst time to ever let anybody go. You're too high. Come down lower. There we go. We'll try that for a minute. But I would agree that I hope that Hero Quest is able to live long enough to take on many, many more brand new campaigns designed by the current game masters, as it were. And I hope that all of the content that would have been gets to come back and thrive. So still on my list is some sort of interpretation of the Dark Company. I really don't care how they do it. I would like for elements to remain as similar as possible, but I know, and you know, that some changes, at least additively, would have to be made for the adventure to be playable and accessible. The Wizards of Morcar is set in a game system that reflects the rules of the UK/EU gamebook. And that means all the monsters have 1 body point, except in rare cases where they don't. And the US monsters, which now the current contemporary game system follows, well, a lot of them have more than 1 body point. This is really the only difference, and there aren't a lot of monsters that have more than 1 body point. So a lot of folks really go overboard in explaining the brutality of the US quests, or whenever you take a UK quest and convert it to US rules, there's really not that much of a difference. All of your goblins, all of your orcs, all of your skeletons are still going down as soon as you land a hit. But I've converted quests and played them, and there's really just not that much of a difference. And it works the other way too. If you convert a US quest to UK, you have a much easier time handling the Chaos/Dread Warriors. They're really the crux of the entire conversion. So if your quest features a lot of these warriors, they're really going to make or break the difficulty of your game, depending on what context you're playing it in. But I digress. Avalon Hill knew that Against the Ogre Horde was an EU-UK game system campaign. And when they converted it to today's standards, they barely changed anything. In fact, the only thing they really did was they took away the ogre body point variable tracker and replaced it with just set values for the different ogres, making sure that whatever challenge those ogres presented, they would always present a consistent challenge. They also gave you supply drops given to you by the Die Grucht clan's Master of Battle, Grisbella Hammerhand. A fearsome and respectable ogre. You don't get that ally in the classic version of the pack. This is a brand new character, somebody who really lends a lot of weight and characteristic to the ogre clan, specifically the Die Grucht clan, named which tells us a lot about the world building of our contemporary HeroQuest and of the people, the creatives behind, the ones who have the creative stewardship to give us this lore, this background, this development. And what is it that it tells us, Ash? You might ask. It tells us they care. That's an amazing thing. But anyways, through these additive changes, they gave us a way to make the expansion more palatable. I'll still grieve the loss of the variable body point tracker. But the good news is Wizards of Morcar has no such world-shaking mechanic added to it, and so it would have a lot less to tinker with. We're fighting the same monsters in Wizards of Morcar, although we are able to now hire mercenaries, men-at-arms, to bring with us. This is not a new mechanic, and this is something that's already kind of been covered by the Frozen Horror being released for HeroQuest. So this won't really be an element of surprise or something new to introduce to the players. And so a lot of people will be off-put if there's nothing brand new that comes with Wizards of Morcar except for the wizard sculpts. As some folks out there have shared that this really isn't an exciting quest pack, it's not very fun or whatever. I mean, the beauty is really in the eye of the beholder. There are some people who think that it's the best quest pack. Not really a discussion that I want to get into, but I do think it would be entirely appropriate, just fine, if they were to add 5 quests, tack them onto the beginning of this quest pack, or perhaps create 5 additional challenges for the latter half of the quest pack. They could even make it a little bit more like Jungles of Delthrak, where they have branching paths. They've really done something interesting and different with every single one of the expansions that they have created for HeroQuest, and I don't think they would let anybody down with this one, especially with so many eyes on it. The pressure is kind of high for this one to be released and be good and cool and blow people away. So that's all of that time spent talking about just 2 items on my list, Wizards of Morcar and the Dark Company. I really didn't talk a lot about the Dark Company, but I mean, if they were going to make that into its own campaign, then I would really hope to see a lot more of the dread forces that are under Zargon's control added to that one. I would like to see it made into a proper campaign. It is a 13-part scenario, a sort of black sheep of content in that each scenario only takes up a small section of the board, and when you cross over into a new scenario, you're able to go back into the previous one if you'd like. Otherwise, you're able to progress forward. There are some things that kind of reset decades before Dark Souls was a thing. Yeah, this is kind of like the Dark Souls of HeroQuest, if I'm being honest. Dark Souls is the Wizards of Morcar of the video game world. I would actually like for them to publish the scenario as is with the 13 pieces of the scenario, the quest, given their own section in a proper quest book, and they could expand on that with maybe another multi-section quest. This one could possibly branch off into different parts of the castle. Perhaps you don't kill the enemy in Dark Company, the big bad of the quest, which is not Morcar, by the way. It's a highly political quest line, actually. And to summarize it, it's a lot more, hi, I'm the king, and this councilman has gone evil. He must die, and he must die now. And as you go through, it's evident that he's got a lot of people on his side turned against you. And those are your Dark Company members that you have to put down along the way. But anyways, we could change the narrative up a little bit. We could definitely have this guy escape, and then you've got to chase after him. This could utilize the First Light's underside board and all of the various rooms and everything and cave layouts as we chase after this figure through the tunnels. It could come back to the top side and we could have more new sections revealed. This could even be the quest pack or expansion where we face off against Zargon himself. But yeah, I would love to see a lot of additions to this one. Forces of Chaos, a lot more decorated knights and soldiers and clerics that are here. We've got Chaos Archers in the old world of HeroQuest. Well, in the old world in general, with Battle Masters and Warhammer and the like. And with Dread, we could have Dread Archers. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I mean, the payoff would be there. People would know. We'd know, right? We would pass each other in the street and we would nod knowingly to one another. Yeah, they paid homage to the Chaos Archers from Battle Masters. After that, we're kind of pulling at straws. I'm kind of struggling to give you a concrete list of things that I would like to see. I know before I've talked about wanting to see the Lost Wizard expansion, the Wizard Quest Pack, Sinister Sorcerers, as well as the Lost Dwarf Quest Pack, the Hammer of Hadraka. I've been told that a lot of the elements of the Hammer of Hadraka are actually present in Jungles of Delthrak, but I discount this after reviewing the information. I think while it's true the elements are present here and there, this isn't really the spirit in which Hammer of Hadraka was written and presented, at least to the extent in which it was completed. I think that a proper dwarf-centric quest pack could be created. And yes, I know we have the Explorer with the Jungles of Delthrak, but again, to me, while this is very, very close and might even make it impractical to come out with a dwarf-centric expansion, it doesn't discount that it could still happen and still be very different and add to the overall sense that each of the 4 heroes gets their own quest pack of sorts. In the same vein, despite Wizards of Morcar existing, there was going to be Sinister Sorcerers, a quest pack that focused on the wizard and gave the wizard an animal ally, a saber-toothed tiger. Sadly, we see this saber-toothed creature in Jungles of Delthrak, which really kind of just more pays homage to what could have been, which is a little more sad than saying, yeah, we're going to work on this and we're going to make it its own thing. So I guess despite the obvious signs that Jungles is an homage in pieces and in part to these 2 lost quest packs, I would really like to see Avalon Hill bring them out anyway. I think it would be absolutely legendary of them to do so. I'm fully aware that the person who bought the quest notes off of the original owners on eBay has worked towards a Wizard Quest Pack release, and that this is going to be free. So for those of you who are just now hearing it, yeah, Luca is actually making sure that we are all able to download this for free. It's going to be a quest pack based on all of the notes and all of the information available in the design notes that were bought off of eBay, the physical design notes from the people who were designing the quest packs when they were assigned each a quest pack to design way back in like 94. And the Wizard Quest Pack will come with all of the cards and quests and rules and miniatures or links to STL files that you could want if you're going to recreate this experience as close to as it would have been most likely, since a lot of that was incomplete. So, I mean, it was going to be up to interpretation no matter what. So absolutely fine and really, really, really cool of him to do that. And it gives me hope that the same could happen for the Dwarf Quest Pack. I think that's the intent, but I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. It's just something that I thought was already in the works. I could be wrong. Pretty sure that it is right, though. So we can look forward to classic editions of these 2 quest packs coming out, at least the Wizard one. Unsure about the Dwarf one, 100%, but would love, love, love to see contemporary versions of these 2 quest packs. And when the Wizard Quest Pack is done and released, you can see and judge for yourself the differences between that and what was referenced to it in Jungles of Delthrak. Okay, that's 4 things. A 5th thing that I would really, really like, because they did re-release the Knight. I can't really wish for the Knight again. I will say the Commander of the Guardian Knights sculpt and artwork is so cool. I really, really took a liking to the design of the limited edition version of the Knight. Both the male and the female. They are both awesome looking. I'm actually pretty glad that we did get a 3rd variant as well with full armor, because that Knight also looks pretty cool. I mean, they just all look really cool. I know that we're not going to get the Knight again, so that's off of my wish list. It's something nobody needs to allocate any energy or call in any favors to get. We've got the Knight. I'm placated. I mean, I'm happy because I did get my hands on the original, and if I didn't have it by now, I was going to be saving up money to get it off of eBay, because unfortunately, I've got that bug that's bit me. Not a ladybug. I don't even know if ladybugs can bite people. They can't bite people. I've watched them eat aphids off my vines. I know that they can absolutely chow down, but I don't think I've ever been bitten by one. Anyway, I would like to see, however, another hero collection. I would love to see another custom box with another themed hero. We've all wanted a cleric at some point in time, or perhaps, I can't even or perhaps this. Most of the class archetypes have been covered with the inclusion of the heroes that came out in the hero collections, as well as the expansions that include heroes. we've got a wide variety of heroes to choose from in HeroQuest. So really the only one that we don't have is one that is focused on healing, one that has a replenishable healing spell. This might be the druid for a lot of you. I do think that the cleric would make a lot of sense even alongside the druid, just to give a little bit more option, a little bit more limitation, and then some strength in some other areas. Clerics are sometimes known to be strong against the forces of undead. Being strong particularly against undead would kind of take an edge off of the hero, because that makes things a little less accessible. There are entire expansions like Keller's Keep where there just really aren't undead, so I might not word it the same way. I think a little bit more care would be put into the design of a cleric, but I do think that a cleric or priest type hero would be a cool idea. It would be something that they could definitely make work. Something they could definitely make separate and unique from the druid and from the wizard or elf in terms of who selects healing spells and for what. A character that would have a place in a team of 4 heroes storming the dungeon. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'll move on into my next item. Next item, I really just want more original content from Avalon Hill. They did such a great job with Rise of the Dreadmoon and such a great job with Jungles of Delthrak. I would love to see what they could come up with next. Yeah, we got Prophecy of Talor and we got Spirit Queen's Torment. These were smaller adventures. It brought on sort of like guest writers to do them. There's still 10 quest campaigns, but they weren't super ambitious. They were kind of like the Keller's Keep and Return of the Witchlord packs. They didn't even need to include any miniatures with them. The fact that they found a way to re-release them and even give the miniatures a really unique edge was impressive. They went about that the most genius way possible, and I really admire how they navigated that challenge with re-releasing those previously Mythic-only quest packs. And I don't mean Mythic only as if they were exclusively supposed to be Mythic only explicitly, but they were only available that way. So the last quest pack that I could add to my list would of course be Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. But if they do that one, then I would actually have a few things that I'd like to request of them. I no longer want an update to the Venom miniature. I actually think because we now have a dragon in First Light, although it's not my favorite dragon, at least from the pictures that I've seen, once it's in my hands and I'm actually moving it around and using it to whoopsh the heroes, I might have a different take on it. But for now, it's okay. Saturday morning cartoon. Hello. Venom, fine. He's fine. Keep Venom. Maybe cast him in a different material, just like the Prophecy of Talor and Spirit Queen's Torment re-release miniatures. That would be pretty cool. That would give Mythic collectors something more to look forward to, another reason to go out and buy a quest pack that they already have, essentially. There could definitely be not chaos. Once again, it'll never stop. Dread forces that are cast in a third sparkly color. We've got the Haribo green-blue and the Haribo red-orange colors from the other 2 previously Mythic-only packs. Would love to maybe see some translucent purples going on, sort of a hybrid of those other 2. Would actually love to see that. We would have a third color, really a 4th color besides the base game system colors of the enemies to play with, and make into a brand new faction or a powered up version of the enemy. With that out of the way, I'm going to go back to the original content item on my list. We have just a little bit of elements of Gothic in HeroQuest. It's not overtly a Gothic adventure. Why was that hard to say? It is a dungeon crawler, and perhaps there are similarities between a Gothic presentation and a dungeon. Certainly they have a Venn diagram that does overlap a bit, but a lot of people are like, ooh, Bloodborne, but HeroQuest. And I'm thinking, yeah, old Warhammer had witch hunters. Age of Sigmar, even new Warhammer has witch hunters. Change the name, not because it's copyrighted, but because just, Dread Hunter or Demon Hunter or just Hunter sounds way cooler. And there are no witches in HeroQuest anyway. Make that the expansion hero and go even more Victorian Gothic to completely different architectures and eras and locations. Even more, leaning more into that than Rise of the Dreadmoon did. Rise of the Dreadmoon was kind of that, but like clean. It was clean Gothic. It was, are there demons here? No, there's spirits. There are voluptuous spirit women. And there's the Dreadwraith, who, also, hey, call me. But this could go way more into the horror aspect. Perhaps we could have some, gosh, we already have so many of what I would request. We've got a giant spider. We've got spawnlings. We've already got mummies. We've got skeletons. We've got a lot of really cool skeleton sculpts. We've got archers. We have cultists. We have a goblin warlock. We have skeletons that are merged with trees. We've got some pretty cool horror-themed monsters already, but I want more. I just can't articulate what it is that I want that we don't already have. Werewolves. I would like to see werewolves. We have wolves, and we have werewolves. You have to use theater of the mind for them, though, or I guess the tiles, but who wants to use stupid tiles? Give us werewolf sculpts. I guess you could give us the specters again, but cast them in a different material. Have like blood specters or something like that. The Magus Guards were so cool, as were the assassins in Rise of the Dread Moon. I'd probably go with yet another type of guard or knight, because I'm a sucker for more knights, more warriors in full armor, chaos monsters, dread warriors. They've always looked so cool, and I've always been a fan of them. Really, really gothic that armor up. I'm honestly not entirely sure what else I would add to this list, but I think the one thing left on my list that I can add that I really want more than anything else on the list is I just want the line to keep going. Hasbro asked about collaborations, and not everybody was turned off by that idea. And I think while it kind of sucks to think about it from the soulless corporate Hasbro business sense, like, oh yeah, great, we're going to get all kinds of dumb collaborations just for the sake of does it print money, like, woo, Disney Hero Quest, Transformers Hero Quest, I'm not buying that crap. Well, some people would buy that crap. And honestly, not all of them are bad ideas. There are some properties that Hasbro has I wouldn't mind seeing collaborated with Hero Quest. And I'm not reneging all of the points that I made back when I said that this might not be a great idea. I don't even remember what I did say. That was a long time ago. I think I just wanted it handled with respect. I wanted it handled with integrity. I don't want to see releases that look soulless, that are treated with money-grubbing, soulless hands, because it happens. I don't want another Monopoly situation. I want something that makes me excited to buy it and play it and present it and talk about it and show it off and paint it. I want that. That's the kind of collaboration that I would be excited for. But I will admit, in having that, in admitting that, and in wanting that, I have to accept that there are collaborations out there that you might feel very strongly about being positive over, that I might not be a huge fan of. Somebody out there would really, really love to see a Simpsons Hero Quest or a Family Guy Hero Quest. And who am I to say no to that? Scooby-Doo was a Betrayal at the House on the Hill variant. Had its own tiles, its own quest book, everything about that. Just a completely new Betrayal game. And if you love Betrayal, but you're sick and tired to death of playing the same quests in the base game or Widow's Walk, then jump on Scooby-Doo, because it's still a good time. And if you get sick of playing that, play Baldur's Gate. Betrayal at Baldur's Gate is an awesome take on Betrayal. And talking about that, give me a Baldur's Gate Hero Quest any day of the week. I am 100,000% on board with that. We can make it classic Baldur's Gate. We can make it Baldur's Gate 3 aligned. I will buy the crap out of Shadowheart minis just to paint them up in different ways. I want Avalon Hill to be happy and healthy and thriving and continuing to create the things that they feel passionate about when it comes to Hero Quest. They have a lot of other fantastic games, and of course they've got their resources spread across their board, what with Risk and the hopefully soon to be revealed Warhammer 40k trading card game that they're going to be publishing according to the EAN leak that we found earlier this year. That hasn't been revealed as of the time of this video, not announced officially anyway, but I'm looking forward to seeing what that is, because that sounds awesome. And of course, I want them to continue putting resources into Talisman, because I would love to be able to replace some of my Talisman editions with awesome 5th edition stuff. Although I will admit something kind of horrible. After playing 4th and 5th and looking back at 4th and then looking at 5th, I I may have to go back and change my mind on some of that. I actually don't know. I actually don't know beyond the miniatures if I could replace all of my 4th edition stuff. Obviously, nothing will ever replace 3rd because that's Classic Citadel, and I'm sorry, that shelf space is going to have 3rd edition on it always. But 4th versus 5th, I might be back on the fence about that. But I want them to be happy, healthy, thrive, survive in their lane, hydrated, very Jameer, very cute, very skibbity. And if that means that I have to see a Skibidi Toilet HeroQuest collaboration, then, I mean, I guess so be it. And with that, that's really all my want list for 2025 consists of. All of that. I want all of that in 1 year. Can you pull it off? AH? I think you can. I think you can. I think we both know that. I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. That's more of like a 2-year wish list, actually. If I got all of that in the next 2 years, I would say bravo. You did If I got all of that actually in the next 3 years, I would applaud you highly. Legendary. You could go out with a bang and you could be done and say, all right, HeroQuest is not getting any more content for another 30 years. And I'd say, you remember them old days back when I was 40 and Avalon Hill was doing HeroQuest? And my grandkids would be like, Grandpa, we don't care. We are playing 5th dimension VR HeroQuest, and it's not fun. It's roll to move. We don't even know what that means. This is one of the most boring games. Can we please go back to playing Roblox 8 / Minecraft 1, because there will never be a Minecraft 2. And I'd say, all right, but you don't know what you're missing out on. Back in my day, we used to roll cubes made of wood and we put pips on them. Except these cubes didn't have pips. They had skulls. And some of them had bunnies. Well, we couldn't figure out why there was a side that had an evil bunny rabbit on it. But we rolled it, and if you got the evil bunny, it was the opposite of lucky. In fact, it was very, very unlucky. And usually you got the bunny when you were trying to make an attack against the opponent. Now, I wore an onion on my belt, which was the style at the time. And then back then, you called